Hello, Year Sevens. So this will be the last video covering this topic of classification. I'm going to keep it short and sweet, and then you'll be doing just a little task at the end. Okay, so we're going to look at the difference between vertebrates and invertebrates. So the first thing I want you guys to do is also just a reminder, as I'm going through these slides, you need to be taking down notes as well, whether it's in OneNote, whether it's in your science book, wherever. Be consistent. A lot of students are doing it on OneNote under the science tab, so that's a good option to do. That way I can see it as well. So the first thing I want you guys to do is, so certain animals are classified by their structural features. So we know that we can group animals in certain ways, but then there's also ways where we look at what structures they have and group them accordingly. So we look at animals that have a backbone and don't have a backbone. So I want you guys to just pause the video in a second. I want you guys to list animals that do and do not have a backbone. So I want you guys to research animals that have backbones and animals that don't have a backbone. I want you to try find 5 for each and write that down. If you can create a table writing no backbone, backbone, list some animals. If you can find their scientific name, that would be even better. But pause the video and I want you to do that task now. Okay, so these two words are very important words I need you guys to know. So it's called vertebrates and invertebrates. Hopefully you may have heard this before. So vertebrates are animals that have an internal skeleton or animals that have a backbone. Invertebrates, however, are animals with an external skeleton, so the skeleton's on the outside, or they have no skeleton at all. So if we look at this image here, we've got fish, birds, reptile, mammals, amphibians. They are vertebrates because they have backbones. Invertebrates, so for example, so you've got snail, it's got no bones at all. Crabs, because it's got an exoskeleton. And obviously some spiders, as you guys can see. These are animals that are invertebrates. So it's very important you know the difference between the two. So if you could please copy these definitions down, pause the video and copy it down, that would be excellent. So this is a fact that 75% of all animals in the world have a skeleton on the outside of their body. So that's a lot of animals all around the world that actually have a skeleton on the outside. So obviously we are animals as humans. Our skeletons are on the inside and then we have muscles around it. But some animals have it on the outside. So the next slide is going to go through some two new words as well, endoskeleton and exoskeleton. So they're the two types of skeletons you can have. So an endoskeleton, if you're an endoskeleton, you are animals that have an internal skeleton. So endo kind of means like inside, exo means outside. So we as humans, our bones and everything are on the inside. So humans and obviously around our bones, as you see in this picture here, we have the muscles. So that is what endoskeleton means. Again, you should be copying this down. Exoskeleton, animals who have external skeletons. As they grow, they discard their old exoskeleton. So they have a hard structure on the outside, and obviously when they grow bigger, they are going to remove the exoskeleton that they had and have a new one. So crabs, lobsters, ants, and centipedes, those are animals that have an exoskeleton. If you think about crabs, they have a really hard structure. Obviously, when you have a hard structure like that, you don't have a lot of flexibility like us. And with them, muscles attached inside the skeleton. So remember, if you guys have had crab meat before, if you open the crab shell, the meat or the muscles of the crab are on the inside because it's attached to the skeleton. While we, as endoskeleton animals, is the opposite. So these two words you need to be aware of and be familiar with some examples as well. Mammals. So the definition of mammals is important. So mammals have a body covering of hair, feed their babies milk, endothermic, and divide it into 3 classes and how they reproduce. So this is just a summary of how to classify mammals. But mammals itself is can be divided into 3 separate groups, which you need to be aware of. So there are 3 types of mammals. You've got placentals, I'm just going to highlight here, monotremes, and marsupials. Hopefully you've heard of at least marsupials before. So placentals, a baby is nourished inside the mother's body by a placenta. So seals and horses are mammals that are placentals because they have their baby on the inside, which are nourished using by placenta. Monotremes, however, they are mammals, but they lay eggs. So we know platypus, they lay eggs. So they're the special kind of mammals known as monotremes. Marsupials, as hopefully you've heard that word before, so kangaroos, for example, are marsupials. They give birth to underdeveloped young that grows in a pouch. So they don't lay eggs. They grow their little baby kangaroo in their pouch, and the kangaroo will grow using the mum's milk to grow and eventually come out of the pouch when they're ready. So this PowerPoint is the last couple of slides, literally just understanding key terminology. So just to reiterate, know the difference between vertebrates, invertebrates, which have backbones, don't have backbones, or exoskeleton. Know the difference between endoskeleton and exoskeleton. My dog is barking. So endoskeleton is when the skeleton's on the inside of the body, like us. Exoskeleton means it's on the outside, so there's a hard structure on the outside. Mammals, be familiar. So mammals mean if you feed your babies milk, you don't, and you're covered with body hair, most likely most of these animals are, you're classified as a mammal. And know the 3 types as well and the differences. So after you've written all these terminology down, have an understanding, I want you guys to complete this worksheet, which I've uploaded onto OneNote. So I'm going to go through it with you now. So this is another form of dichotomous key. So remember you guys learned how to do it using the flowchart kind of thing. This is another way of doing it. It's just like a list. So what they're saying is you've got this organism here, right? And then you are to use this key, dichotomous key, to figure out whether it's a fish, reptile, mammal, or amphibian. I'm sure you guys know what it is, but this is how you use the key. So if we look at this image, and we look at 1A, so you start with 1A, are there any feathers present? If there are feathers present, it is a bird. So obviously there aren't any feathers present, so I'm going to go to the next question. Feathers absent. So when I go to feathers absent, it's telling me the instructions to go to number 2. Then I'm going to go to number 2. And then you have to work down, it's kind of like the guess who scenario, like remember dichotomous key, yes, no. We kind of work across and follow these instructions until you land on 1. Now it says list a choice of alternatives in the key that allow you to classify the organism below. So you classify what organism it is, and then you say, okay, the first thing you write is feathers absent, there aren't any feathers, and any other clues you got along the way. So that's the first part. The second part, you've also got this animal and this animal as well. So you're supposed to classify both. This is complete the table below using reference books or the internet. So I want you guys to do some research. You are to research goanna, kangaroo, dingo, and kookaburra. You are to tell me what their body is covered with. So obviously the kangaroo is covered with fur. So I'm going to write fur. Dingo, kookaburra, goanna. So kookaburra, I know it's covered in feathers. I'm going to write it like that. Method of reproduction. So how do they reproduce? Do they lay eggs? Do they have a pouch? Any kind of information you find, you write it in here. Method of feeding the young. How do they feed the young? Do they provide them with milk? Do they not? How does the young survive? So don't just give me one word. These ones are fine for one word, but most of these, please provide at least a sentence or 2. Types of limbs. So what kind of limbs does it have? So limbs means obviously arms, legs, etc. Organ used for breathing. So that's interesting. So I'm guessing the organ we use for breathing is obviously lungs. So what do these animals use to breathe? And is it cold or warm-blooded? So if you don't know what those means, have a research of what cold-blooded means and what warm-blooded means, and then identify what each of these animals are. Use the characteristics listed in the table above to construct a key that can be used to classify the following vertebrates. Your key should be similar to the same format in question 1. So, like you guys did here, you are to create your own key. So, for example, I can be like 1A. I always start with 1A. 1A. And then I'm going to write, so we know, we could be like, does your organism, say, does it have fur? Dot, dot, dot. If it does, let me just clarify this. Oh, so we go, so it's not a question. So we go with has fur. So if it has fur, I want you to go to 1B. Yes, and then you go 1B here, 1B, and then you could be like 1B, if it does have fur, then you have to classify. So we know that the kangaroo and goanna have fur, so obviously I'm going to write that. So you need to keep specifying. What I'm actually thinking, guys, is this might be a bit difficult, this one. I want you guys to still create a dichotomous key, but I want you to do it the way that with the pictures. So I want you to find 4 pictures, goanna, kangaroo, dingo, kookaburra, and I want you guys to create your dichotomous key, have the 4 pictures, and have the questions until you're left with one. Exactly how you did your dichotomous key task, and this is how your assessment task is going to be as well. So complete this, ignore question 2, and here at the bottom, I want you to upload the images and create your dichotomous key with the flowchart. Make sure you have very good questions. Remember, don't ask about color or anything like that. Specific questions, because it needs to be related to this. You could be like, does it lay eggs? Yes, no, you've got the information there. You are to provide a dichotomous key related to that. But that's it, guys. I will see you guys next lesson.